I feel like this list is going to be a little controversial, but let's do it. So guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon that talks the most about Demon Slayer on YouTube, and you're on my channel. Remembering that this video only considers the current Hashiras, and not the strongest swordsman who ever lived, okay? The 9 Hashiras will be ranked, from weakest to strongest, so let's get started. In 9th place, we have Shinobu Kocho. Shinobu is the insect Hashira, and despite her insect breeding having very lethal techniques against demons, Shinobu is the physically weakest Hashira, and also does not have great speed, even compared to other members of the Demon Slayer Corps that are not Hashiras, and she is not capable of cutting a demon's head off, because of the little strength she possesses, and Shinobu's main way of fighting is by using various types of highly deadly poisons. Mainly to the demons, being able to kill them without having to cut their heads off, and for this she uses her different sword, which is thinner and has a wider tip, and is used to inject the poison into the demons' bodies, closely resembling the concept of an insect stinger. And despite her being in last place, because of her little physical strength and speed, she is extremely powerful. Her poisons are capable of killing demons very easily, and paralyzing very high-ranking upper moons like Doma. In fact, the poison is so potent that it was able to weaken even Muzan, and was instrumental in the defeat of the Demon King. In 8th place, we have Kyojuro Rengoku. Rengoku is the Flame Hashira. From a very early age he trained with his father, studying the flame breathing style instruction book, and this made him develop his breathing at an early age. Rengoku, he is a great strategist, being able to evaluate his battles with great coolness to create strategies while fighting. Despite not being as strong or fast as other Hashiras, Rengoku has good speed, and very high physical strength. He was able to immobilize the Upper Moon 3 Akaza, even though he was very injured and without the use of a Demon Slayer mark. Many people argue that if Rengoku had developed his Demon Slayer mark, he would have defeated Akaza. I disagree, because although Akaza was almost caught in Rengoku's strategy of waiting for the sun to rise, Akaza did not fight seriously at any point, and Rengoku had no effective techniques to defeat Akaza. But he would have succeeded if Shinobu had put poison on his sword. In 7th place, we have Abanai Aguro. Abanai is the serpent Hashira. As he is partially blind, he relies on his snake, Kaburamaru, to assist him, reading his opponent's attacks and reporting them to him. And this snake was adopted by him even when he was a child, as he was born into a clan that worshipped a snake-faced demon. His serpent breathing was developed by him himself, being a variant of water breathing, and which allows him to use techniques with movements similar to those of a snake, which attack the enemy in an unexpected way, with cuts that make curves. And despite not standing out in strength and much less in speed, Abanai is very intelligent, and stands out in creating strategies. He was able to access the transparent world, and transform his blade into a red blade. Abanai also fought in the final battle against Muzan, and was very important in the strategy that guided the Hashiras to victory. In 6th place, we have Muchiro Takedo. Takedo is the Mist Hashira. At 14 years old, he is the youngest Hashira of the 9, and is considered an absolute prodigy, as he became a Hashira just 2 months after having caught a sword for the first time. His mist breathing is considered a variation of wind breathing, in which he uses techniques that focus on confusing the enemy's senses, altering their perception, giving the impression that they are enveloped in mist. This makes Takedo dangerous for any type of enemy he faces, as he can attack blind spots before the enemy detects his location. His technique was praised by Upper Moon 1, who said that it was not easy to predict his movements. In addition from this, he manages to produce a red blade at the end of this fight. Takedo, despite being quite skilled, and having won in the end, he was almost easily defeated by Upper Moon 5, when he was stuck inside the water bubble, and he only didn't die because he was lucky and was helped by the little boy. Takedo is one of the Hashiras who had the most potential to eventually become the strongest, but this potential was never reached, and because of his lack of experience, he was defeated extremely easily by Upper Moon 1, and that is why he is not in a higher ranking. In 5th place, we have Mitsuri Kenroji. Mitsuri is the Love Hashira. Her love breathing was developed by her, and is a variation of flame breathing. Her techniques involve blows that use the flexibility of her body to make acrobatic movements and synchronized with her breathing. In addition, his unique and flexible sword works like a whip, which can be used for both attack and defense. Mitsuri stands out for the range of his blows, which is much greater than most other Hashiras due to the extinction of his sword, and also stands out for his superhuman physical strength, which is the result of his extremely dense muscles, being 8 times denser than those of a normal human being, and also because of their very high physical resistance, due to their muscles. Mitsuri was able to fight on the same level as Upper Moon 4, and at that moment, using her Demon Slayer mark, she was so strong that he simply did not have the power to beat her, as his plan was to tire Mitsuri, until she was no energy. In the final battle against Muzan, Mitsuri was able to use her brute strength to rip off the Demon King's arm in his final form. In 4th place, we have Tengen Yuzui. Tengen is the sound Hashira. He uses ninjutsu techniques combined with his sound breathing, which was created by him, using thunder breathing as a base. Tengen stands out for his unparalleled speed, which makes him the fastest Hashira of this era. His physical strength is also well above average. He has an extremely high resistance to poisons, and one of his most interesting techniques consists of decorating the style of opponent's fight, in the form of musical notes, making the opponent's techniques ineffective. In my opinion, Tengen is the most wronged Hashira, as he faced Jutaro, who was an extremely difficult enemy to deal with, being extremely fast, using cutting weapons and projectiles, both poison, and even had a specific condition to be killed. Tengen was the only Hashira who managed to rival in strength and speed in Upper Moon, and still surpass it, without using a Demon Slayer mark. But the Monyo, Tengen won because he had help from Tanjiro and his friends. This is true, but we have to take into consideration that Jutaro didn't fight alone either. He was being helped by Daki, even coordinating attacks with her, and Daki is not weak. She managed to kill 7 Hashiras, according to Muzan himself. So, despite being very underrated, Tengen is one of the strongest Hashiras in my opinion. In 3rd place, we have Ju Tomioka. Tomioka is the water Hashira, and just like Tanjiro, he was a disciple of Urokodaki. His water-breathing uses fluid movements, which simulate the flow and adaptation of water, and Tomioka managed to master both his style, who was able to create his own form of water breathing, which seems to be the most powerful. Despite not being the strongest or fastest Hashira, his level of strength and speed is well above most other Hashira. He was also able to fight Akaza on equal terms and defeat him with the help of Tanjiro, remembering that Akaza is one of the strongest Upper Moons, and that in the fight against Rengoku, he was just having fun and wasn't fighting seriously. Tomioka also participated in the final battle against Muzan, and was able to land blows and cause injuries to the Demon King's body, in addition to being one of the few who managed to survive this final battle, being considered one of the strongest water Hashiras that already existed. In 2nd place we have Sanemi Shinazugawa. Sanemi is a user of wind breathing. In terms of strength and speed, Sanemi is very similar to Tomioka, and the two are practically tied. But Sanemi is higher in the ranking because he has several unique characteristics, and one of them is his techniques, since wind breathing is naturally one of the strongest breaths that exist, as it is the most aggressive of all, focusing almost 100% on attack, and this explains a large part of the scars that Sanemi has. Another important factor is that Sanemi is probably the Hashira who has the most experience in combat, and this experience made all the difference in the fight against Upper Moon 1, who stated that Sanemi was at the height of his power. Sanemi also has a very rare type of blood, which can leave demons stunned, and even Kokushibo had his agility impaired by Sanemi's blood. Sanemi not only managed to keep the fight against Kokushibo, but he was also able to pressure the Upper Moon harder, and was extremely important in his defeat. Sanemi was still able to fight in the final battle against Muzan, and even though he was extremely injured, he was able to cause great damage to the Demon King. Firstly, we have Gyomei Hamajima. Gyomei is the stone Hashira. Its incomparable strength, it is the greatest among the Hashiras, and its speed is extremely high, being the 2nd fastest, in addition to having an extremely high resistance. Gyomei is recognized by the other Hashiras as the strongest demon slayer, and in battle, he was recognized by Upper Moon 1 as the strongest warrior he has faced in centuries. Kokushibo was also impressed by Gyomei's physique, which was exceptional, and the fact that he was blind, but that didn't hinder him in battle. Gyomei was the only Hashira who managed to use his Demon Slayer mark consciously, further expanding all his attributes that were already exceptional, and with the help of Sanemi, he managed to defeat Kokushibo, the strongest demon that Muzan transformed, who rivaled Yorichi 400 years ago, and who had the most refined breathing technique that ever existed, even more than sun breathing. Guillaume was also able to use the transparent world, and because he was blind, he was the person who used this ability in the most efficient and refined way. Guillaume also fought in the final battle against Musin, and was of great help in defeating him. But what about you? Do you agree with my ranking? Do you think if Shinobu put poison in all her swords, it would be easier to defeat the demons? Leave it in the comments, and if you liked the video, subscribe to follow the next content. Until next time my people, demonic hugs.